Recording in progress.
Consultant at Interstellar Inc. She's a CIPPE and IAPP member. She's a certified NFT expert from the Blockchain Council. She's a Smart Contracts Research Forum Fellow. She's the 16th Council Fellow. She's a Clarios Decentralized Justice Fellow. I want us to start giving our virtual applauses. She is a Board of Trustee member for the Blockchain Experts Association by Nigeria, previously BNUG. She's the Assistant Secretary Technology. She's the Assistant Secretary for the Technology Committee of the Nigerian Bar Association. She's a working group member for the Global Blockchain Business Council, GBBC, on blockchain, AI, digital ID, and DeFi. Please, with a round of a virtual applause, let us welcome our speaker, Mrs. Buki Ogunsaki. Welcome, ma. Thank you very much. We're happy to have you here, ma.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here today. I hope you can all hear me loud and clear. Thank you. Thank you. Awesome. Awesome. So let me just try to share my slides first. So I'd like to say a very big thank you to Hilltop Solicitors for the invitation, and to all you attendees and mentees for being part of the program. It's always a pleasure to speak here. Thank you so much to my sister as well, Deborah Oni, for always putting these wonderful sessions together, and her team. Well done to all of you. Okay, so let me try and share screen. All right. Please let me know if you can see my screen. Okay, awesome. This out of the way. All right, so today we're going to be speaking about the overview of data privacy and protection in the digital economy. And I primarily specialize in emerging technologies, data privacy, and cybersecurity. So this is, just one of the areas that I specialize in. I have to say in advance that I apologize. I have a hard stop at 3 p.m. because I need to join the technology committee. Today is the general meeting and we're starting by 3 p.m. So I will need to, join the session, as I'll be taking the minutes for that meeting, because otherwise I would have had the opportunity to wait till 3:30 p.m. So I'm hoping that a number of us here are part of that technology committee. So we're speaking about the digital economy. They've read my profile already. Emerging tech, data privacy, and cybersecurity are the areas. I wanted to start first with change, because change is very important. They say that change is the only constant thing in life. Things always change. And for those of us that are living in Africa, Nigeria specifically, we understand that Nigeria is a VUCA environment. And what is VUCA? VUCA is volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. And when you're dealing with emerging technologies, VUCA is right front and center of everything that you're dealing with, especially in developing economies. Even the developed countries are facing relatively volatile situations right now with technology. But so you can imagine the level for developing countries. So I just put here that in 1987, the US military coined the term VUCA, and just saying, that volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous environment is something that we could be faced with. So what are the world changes that we have seen? Because all of these things that we are talking about 5, 6, 7 years ago, many of it was, a lot of people were not aware. And obviously, even as at now, a number of people are still not aware. The first thing that happened was COVID-19. We are here having a virtual meeting. Many people did not or were not used to having virtual meetings before COVID-19, but here we are today. Now, a lot of things work from home. People are working hybrid. Some people are fully working from home. A lot of people are working remotely. So we are seeing that a lot of data is being used, currently. So work from home is something that is the day-to-day now for regular people. And then, of course, we have the rise of the crypto economy. Crypto in many areas of the world globally is taking center stage. And then, of course, Web3, which is a wider bracket of crypto, blockchain, the metaverse, artificial intelligence, and the like, IoTs and the like. So we're seeing a lot of changes. So when speaking about data privacy, emerging technologies, and the like, change is something that will be constant. You have to constantly keep abreast of things that are happening within the space. So now for data privacy and protection laws in Nigeria, these are the primary regulations that we use. The 1999 Constitution, obviously, the NDPR, which still has the implementation framework that is being used, and then the NDPA, which is a new act from last year. We're also using the Cyber Crimes Act, the NIMC Act, and then policies. I just wanted to list a few. The artificial intelligence, national artificial intelligence policy, the blockchain policy, the cybersecurity and policy strategy as well. So a number of policy documents, a number of implementation guidelines, and then the regulations. But even as we can see, it's few and far between. But we know that the process for enacting regulations is a long, tedious, arduous process. But this is what we have currently. So what exactly is the scope of the NDPA? I highlighted at the bottom to strengthen the legal foundations of the national digital economy, since that is surrounding our topic for today. But as we can see, it's a lot of objectives. Safeguarding fundamental rights and freedom of data subjects in Nigeria, regulation of personal data, data processing activities for different organizations, that it has to be done in a fair, lawful, and accountable manner, data subject rights, and to prevent the breach of those rights, to ensure that data controllers and processors fulfill their obligations to the data subjects, to be impartial, independent, and an effective regulatory commission to supersede and superintendent all these data protection measures that we are talking about are there to supervise that. And then, of course, lastly, like I highlighted, legal foundations of the national digital economy, which we will look at later on. So we're trying to guarantee the participation of Nigeria in regional global economies that will benefit Nigerians and their personal data. So that's the scope of the NDPA. And we know that the NDPA is married after the GDPR, which is the EU GDPR. So what are the principles of the NDPA? The principles are accountability, specific purpose, CIA, which is confidentiality, integrity, and availability. And then we have data minimization, storage and security, legitimacy and lawfulness. These principles guide the use, collection of data generally of Nigerians all over the world. Okay, so you have to be accountable. You cannot collect data now and not be accountable for it. So for every data that you harvest or collect or use or process, you need to be accountable for that data. There also needs to be specific purpose. What is the purpose for which you are collecting that data? You cannot just collect data randomly, generally anymore. You need to specify the purpose for the data. And we're talking mostly about data controllers, data processors, or data administrators. And then, of course, once you are collecting people's data, it needs to be collected in a confidential manner. You need to be able to protect the integrity of that data, which is where data protection comes into data privacy. Then it needs to be available when needed. as and when needed. And then, of course, there's data minimization, which is you don't just collect random data. It has to be relevant for the business that you are doing or the purpose of the project or the task of which the company needs the data, which we'll also go into. And then, of course, storage and security. We know that as data is king now, and data, in fact, there's data overload. We that were consuming the data, I think, I think at a point, even consumers now are complaining that the data is actually a lot. Just on WhatsApp alone, the amount of data that you have to filter through yourself or personally, just personally, that you are filtering through in different groups, different communities, is a lot. So you can imagine how this is for an organization. It's a lot of data, and you need to make sure that the data that you're collecting is secure. That's a major deficiency of organizations in Nigeria, that they're just collecting the data without securing the data. And of course, the storage, how long you hold the data for, and all that. Then there's legitimacy and lawfulness as well, that how you're using the data and the purposes that you're using the data, and for what purposes. Is it lawful? Is it legitimate? These are the principles that guide data privacy and protection. So any organization or individual that is involved in the processing of data, you need to hold these principles very close to chest. It needs to guide the policies and the processes within your organization. And that's why they are highlighted. And of course, it's best practices. So now we're going into the lawful basis for processing data. These are the options that we have under the NDPA, again, guided by the EU GDPR. When you're collecting the data from data subjects, you need to have the reason for processing that data. And these are at the lawful basis. So the first is contract. Maybe you've entered into a contract, somebody bought an item from you, you have to deliver the item to the customer. You need certain information to be able to do that. You've entered into a contract and you need to see that contract too. So that's the basis. Then consent, you need to obtain the consent of the data subject to be able to process their data. That means that they are aware that you are collecting the data and the purposes for which you are using the data for. And then there is legal obligation as well, where you are legally obligated. For instance, CBN rules, KYC procedures, these are under legal obligation because they are obligated under the law to collect that information. Then there is vital interest. Maybe the person's health is in question. That information is needed for the vital interest of the data subjects. Then you can collect that information, maybe from next of kin, spouse, etc. And then, of course, public interest is for government purposes, the interest of the public at large, that the information is being collected. And then, of course, we have legitimate interest, which is for the interest, for instance, usually under legitimate interest, we have CCTV cameras, which are mounted in maybe supermarkets, airports, and the like, is for legitimate interest. So these are just some of the legal bases for processing of data. So in an organization where you are working with projects, and the data processor, data controller need to specify the processes of data, it would either need to fall under any of these. And a number of organizations use a combination of some or all of these, depending on the specific purpose for the data or the transaction. So now we have under Part 5 of the Part 6 of the NDPA, the data subject rights. So the right to information, right to access, right to deletion, right to rectification, portability, which is just the data subject rights. So I have a right to my information. I have a right to access my information, let's say with telecoms providers. I have a right to delete or erase my information if I like, or I also have the right to rectify the information that is located with the data controller or the data processor. To port my data, to move my data from one location to another data. I can object to processing of the data and restrict processing of the data as well. We understand that a lot of data subject rights, data subjects are not aware of their rights. So there's a lot of awareness and education that is going on. I know that the NDPC is doing a lot of rural education and training, so people are aware of their data subject rights. Because I don't know, I'm sure many of us heard of the WorldCoin issue in Kenya and Rwanda, where they went to start harvesting information, paying people as little as 200 naira, 500 naira in the equivalent of their currency for their information. But because people were not aware of their rights and how important data is, they started selling their data to WorldCoin, and that's created an issue, which I believe is still ongoing. So that's just some of it. Now we're going into the implications. If you have any questions as we're going along, please type it in the chat box. I will try to stay abreast of that. Okay. So we're going to the implications on the legal industry. Like I talked about it, the first is training and awareness. We need to have updated regulations. There's governance, risk, and compliance issues that we need to be abreast of. And then, of course, cybersecurity and data protection tools that we need to use when talking about data privacy and data protection in the digital economy. So the first we're going to look at is cybersecurity and data protection tools. So when dealing with data privacy and protection, you find that you will deal with cybersecurity as well. Because what data privacy is the keeping of your data private, especially with the processing of data, and protection is protecting that data. Then what is cybersecurity? Cybersecurity is securing of the cyberspace generally. And where is information located? Where is data located? It's located in the cyberspace mostly. I mean, there's physical data as well, but a lot of it also is cybersecurity. Even cybersecurity deals with some physical data as well, as long as that data moves between virtual environments and physical environment, it's still under cybersecurity. So when you're working with data privacy and protection, you will come across cybersecurity along the line. So you need to be familiar with the cybersecurity frameworks. There are a number of frameworks, global standards, but the most popular, I believe, is the NIST framework. So you need to keep abreast of how to, the tools, the methods and the processes under the NIST framework. But generally, we're looking at physical and digital access security and control. That is who and what processes are involved with the data. What are the security levels that you have within your organization? Who are the core team members? And so on. So there's a number of areas that you need to go into. For instance, if you're in an organization, you will need to divide it into the different departments and the different units that you have. So there's IT department, legal department, HR department, and the like, so many different kinds of departments within your organization. Then you will now need to look at how data is being handled in each of those departments. And then, of course, even within the organization as well, there is hierarchy. So there is those that are maybe mid-level management, lower-level management, high-level management. The data that high-level management can access is different from the information and data that mid-level management will be able to access, depending on the organization as well. Some organizations deal with very sensitive data and some just deal with general data. So you will need to look at all the security level and watch on access controls, because this is where data protection comes in, how to protect the data that you are collecting. And so they always say that your people within the organization are very instrumental in keeping data secure. So you need to look at your security and access controls. Then there's network security monitoring tools. That's those who are accessing the data on the network, there need to be security monitoring tools to be able to determine who has access and when, because you cannot use word of mouth when you are dealing with cybersecurity and data protection. It's essential that you have software and monitoring tools to be able to do that. Then we're also looking at the employment of general tools that we have, like pseudonymization, redaction, and encryption techniques. Again, depending on the organization and the information that they're dealing with, this will come to play. Does the information need to be pseudonymized? And if we are familiar with the term of pseudonymization, it just means using a certain phrase or set of words to camouflage the real information. So for instance, wallet addresses under crypto, if we're familiar with wallet, are pseudonymized addresses. So it's a set of numbers. You really don't know who owns the set of numbers until you peel away some layers of information. As pseudonymization, as we understand, is different from anonymization. Anonymization is when you are unable to reconvert the data back. So for instance, when you're dealing with health data, they anonymize the data by saying John Doe A, John Doe B, John Doe C. They've removed all ties to that information. You are not really aware. Maybe the information that is under John Doe A is maybe just age, and maybe the sex of the person and the age, or some very minimal information. It's very minimal that, and it has to be generalized information in such a way that within the pool of the information, you are hardly able to tell who that particular female is. So let me give an instance. If the data is about 10 million data subjects, that's 10 million female data subjects, and you specify female, it will be very tough for you to tell who that particular female is. So that information is anonymized generally. You are unable to really convert the data back. But the more specific you are, the more pseudonymized the data is, because then you'll be able to add the data together to be able to determine. So if I say the person is under the metadata, that is, I'm talking about, I hope I'm not confusing you all here. The metadata is like the granular data. So if you specify the person is age 15 from Oyo State and maybe studied law, that's pseudonymized data, because if the person has access to the book of data that has the university students, the year they graduated, the person can easily, you know, adapt the two information together to determine who that particular person is. But if there is no additional data available for you to be able to marry the data together, then that is when it is fully anonymized, and you are not able to determine who the data subject is. So for instance, within employment, depending on how sensitive the data the organization is dealing with, you may need to employ pseudonymization of the data. There's also redaction, and we see this a lot with court documents, children's juvenile documents. They redact information within the data. That's removing or blocking out certain aspects of the data that might compromise the life of the child in question or the juvenile in question. They will redact that data. So in some cases, even for corporate documents, there may need to be redaction techniques being used. And then, of course, encryption there's asymmetric encryption and symmetric encryption, which is just codifying the data, changing it from regular information to codes. And these codes is not, there are different kinds of codes and cryptography that can be used to encrypt the technology. But within certain IT departments, networking departments, they usually use a number of these techniques. I know law departments use pseudonymization and redaction. So it depends on the organization and what the information that they're dealing with. And then there's penetration testing. So penetration testing is testing your systems to determine how strong your security networks are. So these penetration testings need to be conducted from time to time. And if we understand the way a lot of IT departments work and tech companies work, there may be bugs always come into your system every now and then. You discover bugs every now and then, depending on, because the data sometimes is moving and breathing all the time. So you need to conduct penetration testing from time to time, just to make sure that your security walls, firewalls, and all that within your organization are secure. And then there's the general antivirus software, firewall tools, and these other ones that we're quite familiar with. So these are just some of the data protection tools. Depending on your organization, the IT department will need to work with legal to determine what legal needs to be using. So across an organization, the cybersecurity personnel within the organization will work with the legal department to determine the data protection tools and software that that department needs to use. So we're going to governance, risk, and compliance. The first on this will be privacy by design. And what's privacy by design? It's just simply employing data privacy tools, techniques, and procedures from the beginning of a project. You design your project around your data privacy procedures. A lot of organizations do not do this. They wait until the end, or maybe when they are doing the launch of the products for those in the tech space, before they now start thinking of data privacy, whereas that should be the opposite. It should be in the design process at the very beginning, so that it's not expensive to now implement mid-project way or at the end of a project. Or a lot of people is when there is emergency, there's been a breach of some sort, that's when they start to think of data privacy and design, which should not be the case. So here I just specify that legal teams must analyze and understand the nature of the business of the project before you're able to ensure compliance, which is the reason why we say with, like, when I'm on blockchain projects, you need to be able to understand how the blockchain works before you are able to design compliance methods for data privacy and compliance within that particular project. When you understand the nuances of the technology or the nuances of the project, then you are able to do that. So what are the things you look at? The type of the personal data being controlled and processed, the legal basis, the usage and the storage of the data. We'll touch on this with blockchain as we go along. Then, of course, the data protection impact assessment, which is required by the NDPA, and you need to do that through a DPCO, which are listed on the NDP website for us for our consumption. You can go there, all the DPCOs are listed there, and you have to do the data protection impact assessment through the organization. Then standard NDAs, your non-disclosure agreements, data protection agreements, policies, all the notices, customer due diligence that you need to do within the organizations. These are standard. So you need to ensure that these are done within the processes. And then, of course, you update your warranty and indemnity clauses just to make sure that you are in compliance with data privacy. So updated regulations, there's a lot of data use. Data can no longer be misused. A lot of people are talking about zero trust everywhere. So which is basically do not trust, you are not trusting individuals. You need to put your system, create your system in such a way that you don't need to trust the second person, okay? And there's revision of data collection methods within organizations and the like, and then new tech, of course, as well. So training and awareness, we need team members play a key role in ensuring that there are no loopholes, with legal clients and the like. You're only as strong as your weakest link. So every organizations need to consider every person. Nobody is above data privacy protection regulation. I know recently we had someone who called us that a pharmacy had gotten a litigation case against them because I think it was one of the workers within the pharmacy, just these regular pharmacies that you walk in to buy drugs. And they had given information to bike riders or something, and the bike riders were using the information for something else. So within the organization, there is no one that is above data privacy training. Everyone should be involved in that process because the consequences of a breach affect the entire team. It affects the brand. It affects the whole company, not just one person. And so we need to proactively protect data. So now we're going into the digital economy, which is the main crux of the subject today. We have the National Digital Economy Policy and Strategy, which is a comprehensive framework that has been designed within Nigeria to push digital growth, globalization within Nigeria. And what are the key objectives? They're looking at broadband penetration, getting to the last mile. Those that are in the rural areas need to be able to have access to this technology that we're talking about. Then there's a lot of digital skills development. I'm sure we've seen the ministry and the different digital development projects that they have. They're advertising, 3MTT, there's so many of them they're advertising right now. And it's because they're trying to build the digital skills talent pool of Nigerians. And then the digital infrastructure as well. And this cuts across different kinds of technology. They're looking at e-government as well. How do we make our government more electronic in all its dealings, documents, and the like? And then, of course, innovation and entrepreneurship, because entrepreneurship is always the backbone of every single economy. And so when you grow that, you are able to grow your economy. So what are the 7 pillars? The 7 pillars are developmental regulation, digital literacy and skills, the solid infrastructure that is needed, service infrastructure, because if you have the solid infrastructure and you don't have the service, there's a problem. And then the digital services development and protection, soft infrastructure, digital society, and emerging technologies, which I'm particularly happy about. And then indigenous content development and adoption. I also put the link here. So for those of us that have not been able to read the strategy document, it'd be good for you to go through it. I know we'll send the slides so that everyone has access to this later on. So how do we achieve these objectives? You have to invest in digital infrastructure, investing in broadband infrastructure, the likes of Main data centers all over Nigeria. And a lot of times, specifically in Nigeria, I don't think we have that much. Well, it's half and half. There's half the issue of investing in infrastructure, and then the second part is actually maintenance of the infrastructure. So maintenance is usually an issue in developing countries generally, not just Nigeria alone. So there needs to be that investment, and then the sub-investment strategy of maintenance and sustainability of the infrastructures that have been put in place, so that gives you the value of the system. So I know, for instance, there was this solar project that we're considering. The solar project itself, implementation would take 12 months, a year or so. But then the sustainability plan that was in place was for 4 years and then to be revised at the end of 4 years. Those are the kind of things that we're looking at, where it's not just build and hand over, but then you are building, handing over, and then putting that infrastructure or service agreement in place for the sustainability of that particular project. Then, of course, is education and training. How do you build, a digital economy without the talent pool? There is a dearth of talent pool. For instance, in Web3, there are not that many skilled individuals who are available to even take Nigeria to the level that it ought to be in, because many people run away from the sciences, except people that are really science savvy. And when you're speaking about technology, for instance, let me use law as an example. Within law, there needs to be people who are savvy in technology in order to be able to build the legal frameworks that are necessary for technology to thrive. Because if you have legal frameworks being built by those who are not skilled in the technology area, there will be a gap, within the system. So that education is really essential, and digital skills development is essential across all industries. It's not just for the sciences alone, it's for any industry at all, be it supply chain, be it law, be it even in the arts, the digital skills development is highly essential. And then, of course, we need regulatory reforms. The environment that will not, they usually say that the regulatory environment is too strict. It's not allowing for innovation. So we need to create that conducive environment with regulatory reforms to make sure that you are pushing innovation, you are pushing entrepreneurship, and you're allowing digital businesses to be able to thrive. For instance, we have the Dubai environment, UAE generally, which is very heavy on innovation. So their laws are designed around attracting talent to the UAE, attracting businesses and corporates who are well versed in technology, artificial intelligence. They're just inviting them, just come to Dubai. Whatever project it is that you want to build, come. We have the facilities available, we have the tools available, we have the support that is available. I know that even for artificial intelligence, the US, I believe, is putting $50 billion investment in artificial intelligence training, skills development, anything artificial intelligence, because they want to make sure that in 5 years, in 10 years, they are the ones that are at the top of artificial intelligence. So you need to do a lot of investment and training in that, and of course, regulatory reforms. Then we have public-private partnerships. There has to be a collaboration between public and private for there to be growth and digital innovation, and then digital inclusion, which is to ensure that all Nigerians, no matter where, whether in the urban area or the rural area, they all have access to the benefits of digital economy. And so we're looking at significant developments. What are the significant developments? We have legal tech, which is a new area of using technology to be able to promote law, or where we are able to conduct our legal work using technology. And then we're seeing a lot of virtual hearings. There's a lot more e-filings. There's DeFi, which is decentralized finance. We're seeing a lot of rush towards tokenization, digital and crypto assets. People are building in the metaverse using XR, there's AR, VR, and MR. There's smart contracts. A lot of the banks, even within Nigeria, are now beginning to build their backend using smart contracts, which is a blockchain technology. Then there's also dispute resolution that is taking place on the blockchain or in a decentralized format, where you can have juries pulled from a global audience, and they're able to resolve matters through arbitration in a decentralized format. And I'm sure we've heard of AI and robotic judges. Many systems are beginning to use this. There's even AI and robotic teachers now. Education is being done by AI and robotics. I think it was last week that a lot of the information was going around about a school that is fully using AI lecturers or professors. So this is what we're seeing as significant developments, new world standards, new legal structures. And so we need to keep abreast of a number of these. Now, when we are looking at emerging technologies and data privacy, AI is the most popular for now. So we are looking at the implications of AI on data privacy, most of all, bias, discrimination, and surveillance. There's Internet of Things, which is, privacy challenges and opportunities presented by IoT devices, which are devices that communicate. We're building a lot of smart houses now. You see people advertising smart homes, smart vehicles, everything is smart now. The phones have been smart for a while, but homes and the like are now being involved in that process. There's cloud computing, So a lot of the information is being stored in the cloud so that people have access to the information wherever it is that they go in the entire world. So what are the roles of these cloud service providers? And then the blockchain technology, how can blockchain enhance data privacy and security? So I just put here a number of things that we're looking at least when we're talking about digital economy, AI and machine learning, drones, AR, VR, MR, quantum computing, nanotech, robotics. We're already looking at a lot more in nanotech and robotics and quantum computing, although they're not now as popular as AI, but they're they're relevant to to the legal frameworks of when you're dealing with tech. For instance, I'm sure we're aware that the FDA in the US has approved the chip, the chip in the brain now that is able to download signals from the brain. That's very sensitive data, where you are now downloading brain waves into a chip, and that chip is able to communicate with a device, meaning that I don't even have water here, meaning that someone can be able to hack that particular system. So now we're looking at people being able to hack the mind of people. So it's getting really intense when it comes to data privacy and the emergence of technology. The nanotech as well, there are these little, they call them mini robots that are injected into the body, that are able to go into the body and kill bad cells, within the human body. And then this mini robots collect data of the systems and the environment of the individual that they're in. And, once they remove it, they actually have access to that information. So information is getting more evasive and in volume and in quantity and in quality. So that's the volume of the data is getting more. And then the quality and sensitivity of the data is also getting deeper. And then, of course, we have quantum computing, but we don't want to go into all of those today. So when it comes to blockchain and data privacy, the blockchain we know is decentralized, meaning that a lot more people can have access to the same information at the same time. There's no single point of failure. Then it's also immutable, meaning that the data, once you put the data on the blockchain, it cannot be altered or deleted once it is recorded. So that poses an issue for blockchain and data privacy. But now technologies are being created and softwares are being created that allow for temporary, what do we call them, like bridges between the blockchain and the regular digital world. So a cross between Web 3, which is where blockchain is, and Web 2, which is the regular internet, where you have some files that are stored on those bridges. Those bridges are not stored, the information on the bridges are not stored on the blockchain, but they are accessible on the blockchain. So you could put a bridge, put your document in a file on the particular bridge, and then the link is pasted on the blockchain, so that the link is what is embedded into the blockchain, but the data itself is off-chain. So anything that is stored on the blockchain, we call it on-chain, and anything that is stored off the blockchain is off-chain. So that there's just communication between the off-chain file and the on-chain link, as opposed to previously where you just go ahead and dump the data on the blockchain. So there are a number of ways to go about this, and there are a number of technologies that are also being used. We like call them technologies now. They're more of processes, software processes that are being used to ensure that the immutability of the blockchain stays intact, but then you are still able to alter the information that you are trying to or linking to the blockchain, something like that. So it's a number of processes. So if you are dealing with blockchain and data privacy, you need to be aware of those processes depending on the organization or the software provider that you are choosing. You can now go into details of that. And of course, we know that there are different types of blockchain. So it also depends on the type of blockchain that it is, because there's permissioned and permissionless, and then there's hybrid, and there's private, and there's public types of blockchain. I'm sure we're aware of those since we've been in the program for a while. Then there's the issue of transparency as well. Blockchain transactions are transparent. So how do we marry this with the blockchain? Because when you ought to keep data private, how do you do that in a public chain, blockchain scenario? There are also processes that you can use where you are using maybe zero knowledge proofs. Zero knowledge proofs allow for data to be verified without exposing the data itself. So the software itself is able to confirm, it's like a middleman. So it's able to confirm that the information is correct without exposing the data of the individual. So there are ways of going about this also within the blockchain space that allows us to share data without sharing the data itself. So technology is becoming more complex, but it's quite interesting. We've talked about pseudonymity as well, where it allows users to be able to interact with the network using pseudonyms. That allows for layers of privacy. But like I said, it's like an onion. You can peel the onion with pseudonymization, but from the outside, when you see the onion, there is a lot of privacy that is allowed. But with pseudonymization, you can still peel to the root to find out who owns the data, etc. So, and then there are smart contracts. Smart contracts automate processes, as we know, and they're able to, with certain types of smart contracts, employ privacy rules to reduce malicious intent, depending. And that is the reason why smart contracts need to be audited from time to time. You didn't get all the types of blockchain. Okay, can someone write it out for you? There is permissioned and permissionless on one side. And then on the right side, you have private, public, hybrid, and consortium types of blockchain. So permission would be, you need permission to be able to access the blockchain. Permissionless is no permissions necessary. And then the type would be private, which would be a private company. Public, just like regular blockchain.com is public. Anybody can access it from anywhere. Hybrid would be a mixture of the two, which a lot of organizations are doing. So a certain level, up to a certain level is public. Then once you dig down, the rest of the back end is private. Then hybrid would be, hybrid is a mixture, and a consortium will be a group of organizations or group of companies. Let's say two different banks coming together to create a blockchain, or three different banks coming together to create a blockchain. That's a consortium of blockchains together. So we find that there are different types. So the type of data privacy that you are employing will depend. Remember, we talked about access control. So maybe up to a certain level, maybe mid-level management can access a certain part of the blockchain. Higher management will be able to access the deeper part of the blockchain. So you can do it in different ways. This is the reason why you need to be familiar with the processes, the technology that is being employed, so that, and from the beginning, you can design, do your privacy by design, so that from the beginning, the DevOps team can be able to create your blockchain in such a way that there are layers of this technology that help with data privacy and protection. Then let's go into AI data privacy. Wow, 249. AI and data privacy. So data collection and usage, algorithm bias, transparency, explainability. What we are just saying here is that artificial intelligence allows for vast amounts of data. Just as you are typing, as you are even breathing, the artificial intelligence is collecting all this data and is training on it, is learning on it, So you cannot imagine amount of data that the AI systems are collecting. And then it's even learning, which is the interesting part of AI. And we are not even at AGI yet. We're not at artificial general intelligence yet. We're still at narrow AI. But we see that the systems are learning very quickly. And AI-powered surveillance technologies allow for these algorithms to be able to pull these vast amounts of data, including sensitive data, and then begin to create digital clones using predictive analytics. So the system now begins to know you even more than you know yourself. And the artificial intelligence they're also using a mixture of artificial intelligence and IoTs, where your devices are listening to you. They listen to what you say. Once you put your phone down, your phone is listening to you. And then once you get online, is tracking the things that you have mentioned in your conversation. So maybe we're talking about vegan diet. We're talking about, I need to exercise. Before the next thing, you'll be seeing exercise, exercise things on your digital media pages and the like. So it's a lot of um, information that is being tracked with artificial intelligence, increased surveillance. I wanted us to go into the data surveillance types, but I think I will just send the slides to you and you guys can do the further research about it since we don't have that much time. But what I wanted to bring out from this is that with the emergence of technologies, there's heightened surveillance, facial recognition. Many of us, our phones can recognize our faces. Google Photos can decipher your family members. It can look at one face and bring out all the other pictures that the person is inside. It will collate everything for you. And this technology is just regular, technology that is available to the common man that is able to buy a phone. You can now imagine the sophisticated ones that are not available for public consumption. So artificial intelligence, data surveillance is massive, It's tracking your location. It's tracking your speech, your voices. It's tracking your facial recognition, even the images. They were saying that the AirPods that we hear, the Apple AirPods are even storing brain activity. Say now, wow, we can't even do anything again in this world. It's tracking your brain activity, the brain waves that you have in the brain. They are collecting that data, for future use and the like. The social media tracking, that one we already know. Your preferences, user behavior, what you like, what you don't like, what you watch the most, what you interact with, is storing all of that information. IoT devices are surveilling surroundings. I always give the example of VR headsets. Your VR headset, it can see your environment. It's storing information. It will store your location, your GPS, where you are. It will store the location of the kind of building that you are in, where you are at. It's storing your eye, what do you call it? Your eyeballs, your cornea, the movements of everything. It's storing all that information. So there is a lot of data surveillance going on, and we need to be very careful of this when we are talking of data privacy. That's part of the challenges that we have. So what are the challenges? Data brokerage. Data brokerage is that these amounts of data that is being collected, they're being sold, they're being exchanged with top governments all over the world, top corporate organizations all over the world. They're exchanging, selling, and dealing with all this data. There's consent and transparency issues, cross-border transaction issues. For instance, Nigerian data. Are we storing it on data servers within Nigeria, or the data is being stored on other servers in other countries? That's another whole kettle of fish. There's bias, which we're familiar with, proliferation of IoT devices, which is the use of the IoT devices to be collecting this sensitive information. Children's privacy is another very big one. Children we see are online, YouTube videos, they're scrolling online, they're collecting different children's kinds of data. We've talked about mass surveillance, and then we talked about Web3 immutability as well, like with the immutability of the blockchain and the like, how do we, protect data where it's able to be erased even though it has been placed on the blockchain. So these are some of the legal issues: privacy law, cybersecurity law, copyrights, patents, law of evidence. There are a number of issues: litigation, dispute resolution, and of course, regulators, policymakers need to be familiar with the intricacies of emerging technologies. That's quite essential for us to be able to build the proper frameworks, that we need. So there's a new generation of individuals, the digital natives. We're seeing more ability to interact with the virtual world. Soon, they say that man and technology will soon become one. We already have bionic people who have bionic arms, bionic legs, bionic parts, where they are now part machine and part humans. So that is something that is already even existing, and it will only even continue to exist. We are told that soon people will begin to choose to be bionic. You have the choice to be able to choose that I want my arm to now be bionic. I don't want this regular arm again. That's the part where we are going to be getting into. So we see that technology is, going into a new dimension. So legal education about new areas of law is key as we are going into these new phases. Who are the people that are going to be in the legal fold, that are going to be helping with this education and frameworks and policing of legal works in the new regime? So there's a massive opportunity. We need to be curious. We need to be informed. We need to actively take part in these new areas of technology. And of course, regulations need to be updated. But once we have more people who are skilled within the legal fold, we'll find that we'll be able to handle more of these challenges with solutions being preferred. So I think that's my presentation for today. I have 4 minutes to go. I don't know if we're going to be able to do questions, but I think I can do some, maybe 1 or 2 questions. And then if you have any other questions, you can always, of course, contact me at any point in time. So I'll just hand over back to the moderator quickly. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ma. Thank you so much for, okay. Am I thinking? Thank you so much, Ma. We really learned a lot today about data privacy, about cybersecurity, and I'm sure everyone here certainly has learned a lot. We have some questions from, okay, 2 persons sent their questions. If anyone else has any questions, please put it in the Q&A section. Am I audible? Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible. We can hear you.
Okay. All right. As I was saying, do not put your questions in the webinar chat. Put it in the Q&A box. Thank you so much, Ma. So our first question is from Favor Oluwafisayomi Ipede. And she's asking, is there any clear difference between right to object to processing and strict data processing? They sound alike.
Okay, so the right to object to the processing of your data is, for instance, when I think of an example, you don't want them to add or delete any information to your data or to change your data, right? Whereas restricted data processing means you don't want your data to be part of a data processing activity. I hope you understand that. So, for instance, let's say they say we are going to use this particular data for a travel agency process, or send to a travel agency, or put in this travel agency pool for maybe loyalty program. You don't want them to include your data in that particular program. That's restrict data processing, because that's a data processing activity. But the right to the other one is your own data itself, my own data, like my name, the sex, the address. You are objecting them changing any information in there. So that's the difference between the two. So one will be more your data, being changed or restricting the change of it, as opposed to your information being part of a data processing activity. That's the first one. Yeah. Okay, let me take the other one. You mentioned immutability of the blockchain as an advantage of data privacy. How is it an advantage since it doesn't permit? Yes, which is the reason why we said, because it doesn't allow you to delete. So it allows for levels of privacy, because once you put the information, depending on the type of the blockchain, like we said, it allows for levels of privacy, which is why the blockchain is good for data privacy. But because we mentioned that challenge, the challenge of deleting information, that's only one. That's only one of the principles, or the rights rather. That is the challenge. So because of that, they've now developed new processes, like I mentioned, the zero knowledge proof, where you are able to roll data into a bridge, and that data stays in the bridge, but then you are able to access that data via links or via specific information. Okay, the way you link a document in, maybe you are doing a PowerPoint presentation, there's a link that is placed there. You just click on the link and it takes you to the bridge, or it takes you to the off-chain folder. So that is the way that we are able to take care of that particular right of erasure. So it has its advantages, but because of that particular challenge, a lot of people are coming up with new innovations where there are roll-ups, there are zero knowledge proofs that are able to take care of that part. Isn't it against the rights of a data subject to request for rectification or deletion of their personal data against their own rights? No, it's not against their rights. They could want to do that for different reasons. So if they want to rectify, some people change their names. For instance, I had someone who said he does not want his name to be Ogun something again, or Ifa something. There are people that have names like that. So it's like, I'm born again. I don't want my name to be Ifa, whatever. Personal conviction. So they have their right to rectify their information. I'm no longer this name. I'm now known by this name. And they can go ahead and request for that. Even the deletion of data as well. Some people are not comfortable. Google has made it. You go to Google, your Gmail, in your account settings, you can go and request there for your data to be. If you go there and you see the amount of vast data they've collected about you and you are uncomfortable with it, you can ask them to delete that information. And there is a process by which they need to go through, to be able to do that. So it's not against their rights. How do we enforce privacy regulations to avoid cases of data breach? And how feasible is it to avoid data brokerage amongst top organizations? You need to put GRC in place, like we mentioned. Your cybersecurity frameworks need to be put in place. They say you cannot avoid the breach. They say it's not a matter of if, but when, something like that, that you can't be 100% protected. But what you can do is ensure you put all the processes in place, and then make sure that there are proper auditing processes that are done every now and then to prevent a breach. Okay, because once you constantly do that all the time, you reduce your percentage risk to be able to face such data breaches. Then for data brokerage, that is still a question that people are trying to figure out. But within your organization, once you have your data policies, your data privacy processes in place, then you ensure you have proper data protection agreements with all your third-party providers, then you are able to prevent data brokerage and the like, because you're able to control the narrative. So if you sign a data protection agreement with all the people that have access to the data that you have, you are able to control how they use the data they are obtaining from your organization. So that's why those DPAs are very essential. And you need to make sure that if you're a data controller, any administrator or processor that is accessing information from you, they need to sign the proper agreements, and once you have that in place, you'll be able to have remedy in case anything goes wrong. Can you please explain pseudonymization? I didn't get the meaning. Hey, do we have time for that? It's only 3:05. We don't have time for that. Thank you, Ma, for the session. I didn't quite hear the part about our phones listening to us, and then we see something familiar. We have what we call cookies on the phone that are able to track our activity, and this includes listening to us. So you find that a lot of times the phones actually are able to listen to you. If you research more about it, you see much more information on that. So let's see, I said something about zero knowledge code when talking about transparency under the blockchain and data privacy. I didn't properly get that. So they're called zero knowledge proofs. Zero knowledge proofs. So we can ZKPs, and there are different types. So we can always
6 minutes after.
So we can always research more about that. It's a way of verifying information that does not expose the information itself. So you have a software the software is connected to, maybe for instance, you have a university degree, right? And the university degree, you don't want them to see the details. They can access the university portal to cross-check that you are actually a graduate of law, but they will not reveal the certificate itself, something like that. So I think if you research a little bit more about it, you understand more, but that helps us to be able to get it. I hope that helps anyway. But you can contact me anyway, and I will be able to do more justice to that. Yes, so I am late for my session. It was really, really awesome to be here. I'm sure you can hear their voices.
We can hear. Thank you so much, Ma.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank
you. It was great to be here.
It was really insightful for me too. You spoke the last time I was an intern, and funny enough, my former assignment was on NDPA, and I really learned so much today. Thank you so much, Ma. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye, Ma.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Ma.
Thank you much for a highly insightful session, Mrs. Buki Ogunshaki. I really appreciate you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, sis.
I appreciate you. I do not know what else to say than to say thank you. A very big thank you from the bottom of my heart to appreciate you for this great and expert session that you have given us. Ladies, please give her a resounding applause with your virtual claps, please, since we're not physical, for you to really clap it out for her to hear. Yes, I mean, that was a great expert session. Sorry, the networks, they're just moving off. I'm getting logged out from one system to the other. So you'll be saving your different system. Thank you. Thank you so much. I know that if we are to pay for this, we'll not be able to afford this session at all. But I really want to appreciate you for your support for this platform. I appreciate you. Ladies, this is not the first time we're having Mrs. Ogunshaki, and it's a testament to the fact that she supports what we're doing here, building the next generation of female legal talents. The women that will lead the charge and be able to understand this emerging technology, the regulatory landscape, the legal landscape, and be able to help and not just advise, be part of those that will formulate policies that will address the real life challenges. And I hope that you take these sessions, this platform, very seriously. And when we have industry seasoned experts like this come to teach you, please, let's not take it for granted. In most cases, when things like this are free, people tend to take it for granted. I'm sure some of the paid sessions you go for
will not even, dish out from the very bottom of their heart like this. So, Mrs. Ogunshaki, I really appreciate you. I honor you a lot. Thank you for being a great mentor on this platform. We do not take you for granted. I know that you already have another meeting. That's the sacrifice that people who come to this platform pay. She has another meeting that she's supposed to start by 3. I was already sending her a private chat. Please, will you end so you can go for your meeting? So thank you. I know we've taken your time. Thank you so much. May the Lord reward you immensely. So thank you, thank you, thank you. This is from me, and on behalf of the community members, we say a very big thank you. Over to you, Grace and Deborah. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Ma. Deborah, are we starting immediately with the presentation?
Yes, we can. I mean, if the groups are ready, we can. We can. I mean, what do the groups have if they're ready?
Okay. All right. Okay. And Tedu was raising up her hand if I thought she wanted to speak, but we have groups 1 to what, Esther? Name Deborah.
10.
1 to 10.
Yes.
Okay. All right. I'm going to assume that all the presenters for today are on this call now, but normally we will say group 1, group 2, group 3. But I know in my time it was whichever group was ready, please go ahead. And I know the reason why the participants are few right now is because some groups are preparing to present. But we should start from group 1. We'll call group 1. If group 1 is not ready, we'll call group 2. Is that okay, Deborah? Should we do it like that?
Or I'll suggest that we wait a while and have the groups that are ready indicate in the chat box, group so and so is ready. Since we told them that the time was to be 4, I think we should give them some time so that we start.
We told them 4?
Yes, yes.
Oh, okay.
But let's just inform them, and maybe we can give them from now to 3:30 so that they can quickly touch up, and it's not just so
Someone's already asking. Yeah, we'll
start by 4. Okay, should we start by 4?
Yeah, we told them 4, so we should stick to 4. We shouldn't start earlier if that's the case.
Madam Oni.
Mrs. Deborah, do you agree? Is Madam Deborah, is she here?
Agree on what? Because I was kind of lost in the way. Like I said, about multiple devices and the network is really, so I'm looking for the one that is working well to face. Agree on what, please?
We promised them that we're going to start by 4, the presentation by 4. It's not yet 3:30, so we're going to wait till 4 before we start the presentation, since 4 o'clock was what we said. So do you agree that we should wait till 4?
Okay, on the other hand, do we have any of the groups logged in right now that we can take them? Is that possible? Is there any group ready that we can take?
Is there any group here that is ready for presentation? If you are, just raise your hand. Raise your hand if you are a group presenter and you are ready for your presentation. I'm not seeing any hands up, Ma. Okay, Jennifer. Okay. Jennifer, let me allow Jennifer to speak. Let me hear what Jennifer has to say. Jennifer, you've been asked to unmute.
Good afternoon, all.
Good afternoon.
I'm the presenter for Group 7.
Okay, and you are ready?
Yes, we've already submitted the
slides,
the whole article, and yes, so there's nothing else left to do.
And you are prepared for the presentation?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
By God's grace.
Deborah, who else is ready? Let me see if it's just you. Who else is ready? If there's anybody else that is ready, please raise your hands. It looks like only group 7 is ready right now. Deborah, what do you think? Deborah, are you there? Okay, Miss Soma.
Okay.
Miss Soma, you are in group. Let me allow you to talk. You've been asked to unmute.
Okay, I think Deborah got logged out, right? I can see her raise her hand.
Deborah, are you serious?
Yes,
Grace,
I
can
am.
you hear me?
Deborah is here.
Yes,
isn't
ma'am.
she?
I'm here, ma'am.
Okay, she's not. Oh,
I am.
is that Miss Soma or who? Deborah.
That's me.
Deborah.
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, okay. Deborah is around. Okay, Deborah is around. Miss Soma, you can't speak. Just unmute yourself.
So, can the lady for group 7 go first?
What group are you in, Miss Soma?
I'm in group 4.
Are you the one to present for group 4?
Yes, I'm the one to present for group 4.
Okay, are you ready to present?
Yes, I'm ready, but since she indicated first, just
Yeah, she will definitely go first. Don't worry.
No problem.
Okay, Madam Deborah, should they start? It's just that since we told them 4, I was thinking some of the interns will not may not be here till 4. That's just what I was worried about. But are we pressed for time? Some of the interns might miss the presentation because we said 4. That's what I'm thinking. Hello? Madam Deborah, are you there? I'm not hearing.
Okay, Deborah, can you hear? Grace, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
We can hear you.
All right. So, what's the majority agreement now? What's the agreed next step
Two
of
interns are available, group 4 and 7, and they can go ahead. But the thing is, I know a lot of the interns are not here, maybe because they thought we'll start by 4.
We'll start by 4. Okay.
I'm not sure. Are we pressed for time? If not, although we can start now, but we will only take 2 people and then we'll have to wait for the rest. But I think it would be good if we start by 4, because some of the interns, even if they are not presenting, they want to listen in, and they may not be here to listen in because they thought we'll be starting by 4.
All right. So we can leave and reconverge by 4 then, right?
By 4, yes. That's what I was thinking.
Yes.
Deborah, that's okay, Abby?
But I will leave the meeting room open. So, but you can leave to save your data and all that, and then we reconverge by 4. But the meeting room will be open for anyone to join at any time, because we'll start 4 on the dot.
All right.
So that means if you join before 4, at least by 3:45, people can start joining by 3:45.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But the meeting room will be open from now. We're not shutting down.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So we have 10 groups that are presenting. How many minutes would they be given to talk?
8 minutes should be fine. So we can accommodate 8 times 10. What's that? Do we have any mathematicians?
80.
That's 80.
That's 80 minutes. That's an hour.
Since we're not dealing with sections here, you are sure it's 80, right?
Yeah.
It's not section 80 I'm asking of any of the. All right. Okay.
That's
so
1 hour, 20 minutes.
I think that should do. So if we can have all groups stick to that, I think we should be able to make do with that, so people can return to the other commitments that they have. So from 4 to like 5:20, 5:30, we should be rounding up, right?
Okay.
So let's work within that time. So we start immediately with the groups that are available. So once we call out our first group, second group, and they're not available, we aren't going to spend much time. We'll just take the group that is available before the other. Then the other groups, once they are available as the ones presenting finished, they can hop on. All right.
Okay.
Thank you so much, ladies. Thank you,
Okay.
Deborah. Thank you, Grace. Thank you, ladies.
So much.
See you by 4. Thank you. Yep.
All right. All the group presenters, please learn how to share your screen and learn how to use Zoom so that you don't waste your 8 minutes. Thank you. All right, bye, everyone.